Hi, this is Robert Jenks, Chairman of AnimeFest. Today I'm going to be talking about how to create staff schedules for your department. The first thing that you're going to need to consider when creating schedules is what positions or roles you're going to have within your department. What I mean by this is things of the nature of which positions within your department. So if we were to take the registration department as an example, the registration department would likely have cashiers, they might have badge printers, they might have the pre-reg pickups, badge support, line control, that kind of thing. If you were running the dealer room security, you might have the dealer room entrance, the exit, roaming, back of house, fire exits, that kind of thing. And so it really depends on the type of department you're running. Some departments with a low number of staff might have only one schedule column. Others will have lots. It really depends on the number of staff, how many different roles they're going to take in doing their job. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is log into your account. And in this particular case, I'm using a test database on my machine, so it's all fake users and names. So you're going to want to go to My Account and go to My Schedule columns here. Under My Schedule columns, I've already added a few. The user I'm currently doing is the manager of registration. And so I've already added cashier A shift, B shift, pre-reg pickup A shift, B shift. I'm going to go ahead and add at least one more. So I'm going to add a couple of columns for support. So I'm going to go in here and hit New. For the schedule name, I'm going to do something like Badge Support A Shift. For the department, I need to select Registration. Label, we'll just say Support A. Label needs to be a short name. You can have both being the same. It doesn't really matter. In fact, it'd be just as easy if you just put support A in both of these places for this particular one. But you can use a longer name up in the schedule name. The label needs to be short because that's what I show in a lot of places where I have very little space to show the names. And if it's long, it's going to overrun the fields and such. For the schedule type, you need to select staff. For the rest of these fields, they don't apply to staff schedules, so it doesn't matter. And in another video, I'll talk about how to do room scheduling, but that's a different topic. So we're going to hit Save here. Should come up and say Record Saved Successfully, and then I'll hit Close to go back to the list. And so now we have Badge Support A shift, and let me go ahead and add a B shift. I'll explain why I'm doing that here in just a second. Let me change this to B. Department registration, and we'll call this support B. And again, staff and the rest of the fields don't matter. Save. All right, so now if I go back to my schedule list, you should see that we now have 6 different schedules here associated, and they're all of type staff, and that's going to be important here. And they all have different labels, which is the other important part. So now if we go back to My Account, and you can, this is the breadcrumb bar here up the top. This shows you sort of where you are. You went to Home, then My Account, then My Schedule columns. So if you want to go back to My Account, you can just click there on My Account. It's really best if you don't use the browser back button through the site. There are still a few potholes in doing so that will cause problems, so I would recommend that you don't do that, at least not yet. Next thing we're going to want to do is go to My Departments. You should already be a little bit familiar with this particular screen because this is where you've gone and accepted staff members onto your team. So registration here now has 9 people in our fake department. So I'm going to go to Edit the Staff Schedule. So there's 2 different schedules over here, room and staff, and at the moment what I care about is the staff schedule. So I'm going to hit Edit on that, and it should pre-populate now with columns for each of those schedule columns we created. And I had previously created the cashier AB, and I've got a little bit of stuff already on here. And I'll explain how that all works. So let me walk through this screen. First, you've got the day and times that you can see for the whole convention. And it starts here on Thursday at midnight and goes through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then your columns across. Over on this side, you'll see the list of schedules. So if I wanted to, I could actually hide some of these schedules. If I had a bunch of them and I needed to really focus on one in particular, I can come in here and just pick a particular one and focus on that. For now, I'm going to go ahead and put all of them up. That really only matters if you have a lot of schedules. The next part, if you come down here, this is a little accordion view that shows you different sections, and the next section here is schedule shifts. These are basically depending upon how you like to schedule your people. Many managers like to do 3, 4, 6, 8-hour shifts, whatever types of, and you can mix and match all you want. Basically, you need to decide your shifts, put them onto the schedule, and then you start assigning people to those shifts. So I've already got 4 different 4-hour shifts added here already. I'm going to go ahead and add maybe a few more. So, I figure this registration department might be open from, say, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. or something. So I've got some staggered shifts in here. I mentioned before, you might want to, even if you have a particular role, you might want multiple columns. In this case, we have a role of cashier here. I added an A and a B for all of these, actually. And the reason I did that is that I think it's really good practice to stagger your shifts such that you don't have one shift of people leaving at the same time that another shift of people are arriving. Having that little bit of overlap means that if somebody shows up to their shift late, somebody's not having to work longer waiting for that person to show up. So adding a little bit, whatever period you feel comfortable with, you can have more than that if you want. But let me show you how this all works. Let me go to Friday then. And let's say, for example, we need to open at 9. Maybe we'll start scheduling at 8 o'clock, and we're going to use 4-hour shifts in this case. Well, I need some cashiers starting at 8 o'clock, so I'm going to drag that 4-hour. If you saw, I grabbed this 4 over here by clicking and dragging, and I drug it over and dropped it over at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to drag it to 10 o'clock in the morning in the B, so I'm going to stagger these shifts. So I can continue to do this and put shifts on the schedule like that. And we can do the same for these others as well. So I can come over here and say, well, I need somebody there pre-reg at those same times, and we'll stagger these in. And you can see it's pretty easy. You can sort of drop them in and fill up your schedule for the day doing this. Now, the bottom left portion of this is the staff list. This should have all the people that are accepted into your department in this list. So now that I have some shifts out here, I can then drag people onto the schedule. So let me take Mal here, and I'll say he'll start off the morning. And if Mal's working, maybe Kaylee will work with him. As you see, all I need to do is come over here and find some staff members and drag them on and drop them onto one of my shifts that's up here. And we'll say that maybe Zoe and Wash will come in here next. And then, after Mel leaves, maybe Amy and Rory will come in here. As you can see, you can just sort of fill up your schedule along the way. If you decided that you made a mistake, that today's the day when Amy and Rory are fighting, well, maybe you want to move Rory over here instead. So you can drag between the two along the schedule wherever you need to move them. In addition, if you're dragging something that's out here on the schedule already, and if you notice, if I want to drag a person, I'm dragging the particular line. If I drag this from there, I'm dragging the whole block. But if I drag from one of the actual people, the white area, I'm dragging the person around. And so there's that subtle difference between the two. So make sure you know what you're grabbing out there, but you can always move it back and fix it. The other, if you notice while I'm dragging something here, a little recycle bin shows up over here. So if you want to remove them from the schedule, you can just drag them over the recycle bin and let go, and it'll go away. The same thing with a whole shift. You can drag that over to the recycle bin and let it go away. Okay? So let me go back. I'm going to add a shift back here again and go back to our staff. And as I said, maybe Rory and Amy aren't totally getting along, so I'll put them over here. Then, I keep adding people. Let me add the professor. We can add Fry with them. We can put myself on there because every manager is part of their own department, so I can put myself out there, and maybe Fry will work up there too with him. Get a little break in between. So as you can see, you can come through here and fill out your whole schedule this same way. Then there's an important step you kind of need to take as well, and that's making sure that you didn't accidentally schedule somebody at the same time. And the way that you can do that is if you single click, rather than clicking and dragging on a staff member, if you just single click on a staff member, it will highlight all of the shifts that that person is working. So I can walk through this and click on each individual person and then scan up and down the whole schedule to look for where there might be a conflict, where I've accidentally scheduled the same person in multiple places. Okay. All right. And again, you can move the individual block by grabbing anywhere that's not the person. So if I wanted to move this shift down, maybe I will move it over here, for example. So it's pretty easy, just drag and drop. This is mainly tested in Chrome and Firefox. Other browsers than that I would avoid at the moment, or at least if you do have problems in it, just know that that's probably the problem and move back to Chrome or Firefox if you have trouble. It probably would work in Safari. I don't know for sure about Internet Explorer. Probably not, would be my guess. But anyway, have fun with it. I would highly recommend using this system to schedule your people. One, again, scheduling your staff members ahead of the convention is really a critical stage. One, it sets up the expectations for the volunteer about when they're going to work and what they're going to be doing, which is important. The other aspect of that is that other people, so especially convention operations, can look at this information. And so if someone is working, let's say for example that Zoe and Wash are working, and they get to the end of their shift and no one has shown up, if they call up to Ops can look up on the schedule and find out who's working next. If only the manager knows what the schedule is and hasn't given that schedule to Ops, then they're not going to know who's coming in next. And that can leave people in some bad situations. So it's really important. The other aspect of this is that whenever you put things on the schedule, so I'm logged in as Zoidberg at the moment. Let me go ahead and add myself onto the schedule here. If I come up now, and I'm going to go back to my account. So come back here. There's no need to save. It automatically saves. So if I come back here to my account and then go to my schedule, I should see when I am actually working. And so it's going to have me in there. I've been playing around with some other schedules, which is why I'm showing up on panel staff and a bunch of others. But here's the 2 shifts that I put myself on for registration. So I hope this worked good for you. Let me know any feedback you might have. At the moment, I don't have time to do more than fix bugs for this year. I got to move on to other tasks. But if you have any questions or concerns, please send me an email or note. Thank you very much.